I got it! When I first heard about Dave being trapped in a maze...
1, 2, 3, 4!
I built a labyrinth. Can you believe it?
Dave is trapped in a cardboard maze in his living room and he can't get out.
Welcome to Dave Made a Minute, the podcast where a whole bunch of us are exploring the film Dave Made a Maze 1 minute at a time. The twist. Many of the participants have never seen the film. Some don't even know what film they're sampling. They get their minutes and they tackle them as they see fit. Here's your host from the Groundhog Day Project and Michael Myers Minute, Robert Black.
Minute 26, Greg and Brynn find another booby trap. To tackle Minute 26, we have Alex Thompson of Galaxy Quest Minute along with Niall McGowan and John Parker of Bat Minute Returns.
You come home, there's a giant maze in your living room. You're like, what the? There's a giant maze in my living room. I've heard of people rearranging the furniture, but this is wackadoodle crazy. Give me a sense of that.
This doesn't make any sense.
Is that a problem? If you promise them I said, by solutions, no problem.
It's like a fucking cocktail party in here.
I get a few words from you before you go.
Welcome to Dave Made a Minute, the podcast where this shit just got real, 1 minute at a time. I'm your host, Alex Thompson. Joining me today in studio, we have our hide-and-seek correspondent, Niall McGowan.
Hello.
And our cardboard murder correspondent, John Parker.
Hello.
And today, we are looking at minute 26 of Dave Made a Maze. Minute 26 starts with Brynn informing Greg that he is getting so cold, and ends with Brynn discovering Greg's body impaled on toilet paper tubes.
So yeah, is this your first episode of this as well, Alex? Or
Yep,
okay,
sure is.
We're all in the same boat here.
We are, yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic we've got going because one of the guests, Niall there, he's seen this film.
Yeah.
I
Shock
have
horror.
not seen anything but these minutes, and it's I gotta say, it's intrigued me instantly. I now want to go and watch this film.
But yeah, it was a fair setup because I know when Robert, who may be editing this, hello Robert, when he was putting this project together and he was reaching out for people to join in, and it was all very mysterious and whatnot. And then as soon as he let a bit of the cast list go, and I saw, oh, Jonathan from Buffy's in it. Oh, I've seen this movie. I know that. I watched this a couple of months ago. And yeah, so then I thought I was instantly out of contention to be on the show because I thought he didn't want anyone. Well, though the thing is, though, because it was a couple of months back, and I watch a lot of stuff. When I watched these minutes, I was like, oh, I don't remember this at all. I remember stuff that later on stuff that I won't spoil for people in case anyone just doesn't want to know. But yeah, this particular scene, these particular characters actually were like, oh, this didn't stick with me at all. Although a lot of weird stuff happens in this movie, so it's not any fault of the scene. It's just that there's a lot more stuff to remember.
Well, really, Robert's ulterior motive was he's in charge of marketing for this film. He's trying to just get people interested in seeing it.
Well, it's worked. Bloody hell! I might actually go and watch this tonight.
I thought you mentioned I might just watch this movie. It's like, I don't know. I'm thinking I might watch it, but 80 minutes, you say? I don't know.
I love just this scene here. I go into it knowing nothing, but it instantly kind of tells me a story. I'm picking up bits and pieces of it in just 60 seconds, which is crazy. That's really well done.
It's one of those handy things that we as minute-by-minute podcasters, we get every once in a while, where it's like the minute itself is it's like a mini movie. It's like, this is a big you have a setup here, you have a little bit of a story in between, and then it has a definite conclusion of you find they were playing hide and seek, and now he's dead, and there you go. That's the story. But I know it happened a couple of times on that minute. The thing was literally oh, Jack Napier's gone over the railing. He was hanging there for a bit, and now he's fallen. And that's the end of that movie. It's this tied up nicely there.
I love that. Maybe people now are making movies with us in mind.
It's like a mandate of no, every minute has to have a beginning, middle, and end. You can't have things leaking into one another. Anyway.
Well, that's the snake eating its tail, right? People make movies with movies by minute podcasting in mind, and then we do movies by minutes podcasting about them, and then people make movies with those podcasters in mind.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and it's only a matter of time before someone has a commentary track that you can play along, and they're a movies by minutes person, and it'll just pause the film as they're talking.
That's the thing. 'Cause have you guys actually watched the movies you've covered since completing a film? Like Alex, have you watched Galaxy Quest since you actually finished with the Galaxy Quest Minute?
I have not.
Because I watched.
I may come back to it at some point, but for right now, I've seen it plenty.
That's the thing, though, because my brother, like, because he has a little son who's like just turned 3, and he's got really into Batman. And there's one day we're in his house, and he stuck on Batman '89. It's like, oh, he'll like this. And it was stunning to me how fast the movie goes now. Yeah, because it's literally like you're just flying through it. You're like, oh man, we spent like a week talking about that one thing there. But
I noticed that actually because what are we? As of recording this, we're nearly minute 50 on Batman Returns, aren't we? With recording,
yeah.
And I watched Batman Returns 2 days ago in its entirety. I deliberately wasn't doing it because I wanted to go through minute by minute, but I caved. I felt like watching it. It just like rocketed by. Like I didn't know what happened to the evening. I was like, "Whoa, what the hell? The movie's over." But anyway,
yeah.
And I still haven't done my big rewatch on Independence Day. We've recorded a couple minutes already, but I haven't sat down and given the entire movie the full rewatch yet.
It's always kind of weird though. Like I do recommend, although it's antithetical to what's happening with this movie, because I would recommend watching the whole thing. Like in one go beforehand, because you do have like, oh, there's a thread that goes throughout the whole movie that I never noticed before. Watching it in one go, and I'll want to pick up on that as we're going through instead of like being at the end of the whole thing. It's like, oh yeah, I guess there was a sort of thing that we didn't really pick up on that we might have done had we been watching it all in one big long story. But
I loved your choice of words there, Niall. A thread, because in this minute we see, well, for lack of a better word, a thread, literally, physically. It's a trap.
A tripwire being held by what I presume are Mogwai.
Yeah. I got such a Gremlins vibe as well. It just really is like you're just away. If they actually had little puppet gremlins, that would be amazing. Like just literally exact replicas of the Gremlins. And they were just like, surprise, bitch! This was a fucking Gremlin sequel the whole time.
Well, my impression of this film is that, say if that happened, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, from these clips, that seems like the kind of vibe it's going for. Like, it seems funny. Is it like a comedy horror? I've deliberately not looked any of this up because I didn't want to ruin this whole gimmick of having me on.
Oh, now I know because I'm the guy who knows. So I was like, am I supposed to say what happens? What it's more, it's the things in it have consequences. Like people who die stay dead, but it's all very silly. Like that's the kind of thing. And there's an emotional core that's supposed to be quite deep and stuff. But this is like it's like I'm sure that as you know, Robert Black would appreciate it, like because I know from Facebook last night, John, you watching Halloween 4, the first viewing of that. And because I know the ending of Halloween 4, it's like, oh, big twist ending where like fucking Danielle Harris kills or like her mother or whatever.
Yeah, it's a great ending, I thought.
Spoiler.
That's like she's gonna be the new Mike Myers, and it's like, let me tell you, don't get too invested in that plot point because everyone's back the next movie, but they do not mention that. That never comes up again.
That would have been such a cool twist because, you know, they wanted to make that series obviously like an anthology, which is why they tried the third one and it didn't go so well for some people. I think that would have been a good way of making it kind of a bit more of an anthology, but still tying it to Michael Myers.
It's weird. The third one, as just a standalone horror movie, I think is perfectly fine.
Yeah,
it's just I think people's expectations were Halloween is the Michael Myers series, not Halloween is the horror movie series.
Yeah, it's a shame that because now you see it with you got American Horror Story. They successfully pull off this. Well, I say successfully. I don't really like it, but to a lot of people, it's good. You know, like it's doing well.
They're still going. You know, they're still going and still making money. So
and they've just stolen that idea because that's what they wanted to do with that series, wasn't it? Like each year, well, maybe not each year, but you know, each time it comes out around a Halloween, it'll be a different story.
I do wonder if they had actually stuck with that from the get go. Had they had like Halloween 2 is Season of the Witch, would it have been more successful? Because the fact that they lured people in with 2 movies of like, so Michael Myers, and then you got a third one that had nothing to do with him. It's like, had they done it in place of the second one, would people have just got on board and been like, oh, I see what's happened, and then you could have continued on.
I think that's a place where the art and the commerce kind of are at loggerheads, right? Because Halloween 2 isn't anything that John Carpenter and Deborah Hill ever really wanted to do. It's something that the studios said, Halloween just made a bunch of money. Well, let's do a sequel. And a sequel was never something that they had in mind. They didn't want to follow this Michael Myers character again.
Yeah. You can tell
the
that
studios said, here's money, do it.
Yeah.
Well, I liked that second film, but the whole movie is just the ending of the first one. It's just like, it's a chase. The whole film is an ending. There's no beginning or middle. It's weird.
It's weird you saying that, though, Alex, as well, because I saw the new one yesterday, and I really, really enjoyed it. But there's so many bits of it, you can tell they're like, that's a scene that's been cut because they're going to put it in like an extended Bluray. They're thinking already in advance of like, you're going like, well, what happened to that character? He just disappeared. Oh, he's obviously died off screen, and they've shot a scene of it. Because I think they have said like, oh, there's loads of other footage we just have not used for pacing. And it's like, you're releasing an extended Bluray. That's all you're going to do. You're trying to sucker people in. And even the way it ends as well is just like, there's no conclusion there. You could do as many more of these movies as you want. It's like, oh, for God's sake, people, just tell a story and finish it, for Christ's sake. But
you get a conclusion for this poor character here in this minute, though, don't you? Like, is he not a main character then? Because I assumed this was like the ending of a big character.
No. Either of you guys, do you know who this guy is by sight?
His character's name is Greg,
But,
and the actor's name is Timothy Nordwin.
He looks familiar.
I know.
I think he's one of the guys from OK Go. The band
Is
OK
he
Go.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I don't think he is, and I think this might be like his only acting part, where he's just like, and it kind of makes sense because you see those guys always have the very homemade, tactile videos, and their whole thing is like, oh yeah, just making DIY artsy stuff. And this whole movie is just like that. Is just that. The whole premise is just like
the vibe I get from this scene is, rather than this being necessarily an important character, is this is kind of the scene where they find, and I could be completely wrong on this take, but this is the scene where they find out that this shit is real.
Yeah.
And there are actual consequences here. Like the moment in Inception where they're like, okay, well, it's fine. I'll kill myself and I'll just get out of here. I'll wake up back on the plane. Like, no, you can't do that. We're screwed and we're in here. You know, that same sort of a like, oh no, it's fine. Whenever it's a cardboard maze and it's fun and we're playing hide and seek and woohoo and there are little games and traps in it. And it's like, no, you got impaled by cardboard tubes and you're dead.
So do you think then this woman here, is she going to go on to be a main kind of character, and that's how she discovers, that this is serious, or is she also going to bite the dust?
I don't know, because other than the cardboard setting, this looks like a very straightforward slasher scene. This character looks more to me like the hysterical girl. Now that something's died and she just cannot handle it at all. Just spends far too long in the rest of the movie like crying and worried and hysterical until she finally gets killed.
Oh, like that just makes me think of the main woman in Night of the Living Dead. She spends half of the movie hysterical and just crazy, basically. Not the most feminist and forward-thinking character, but it was a different time.
No. Was that a deliberate lead-in to the next bit, John, or that?
No, it wasn't.
It's like when he says, "I'm coming to get you, Brynn." That's
I didn't even think of that. No, oh my god. No, I mean, yes, it was deliberate now.
Yes, we are professional podcasters, professional quality.
I'm a genius.
In case people don't know, the line, "They're coming to get you, Barbara," is from the beginning of Night of the Living Dead, when that character you're referring to, John, and her boyfriend are going through the graveyard, and he's just trying to spook her out. And she's like, "Oh, Johnny, stop it." And then, of course, coincidentally, a zombie just shows up out of nowhere.
And there's a different version of that movie where they added new scenes in, like 20, 30, no, it must be like 30 odd years later, where they added some scenes in explaining stuff, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly, they explain where that zombie comes from.
Yeah.
In newly shot scenes, inserted in, but they've made it look old. It's very weird. And they try and explain why there's zombies. It's some kind of weird religious thing. I don't like it.
I also thought that at the end of that, there's reference to like a comet and stuff, isn't there? It kind of gives you at the end. It's like, yeah, there's a comet game and there's something weird.
Yeah, but it doesn't really explain. It's kind of like, I don't know.
I guess one of those things though, you just don't need it explained. Again, that's more like, why does Boba Fett have a dad all of a sudden? I didn't need to see this. Why is I didn't care that Indiana Jones had a scar on his chin. Like, what the hell? But now I was like, yeah,
who made C-3PO?
Yeah, we were all asking that.
And then, of course, it's like, oh, where did the zombies come from? It's like, it's been 40 years. Nobody cared. We're happy enough.
Well, it's a bit like this film here. I hope it doesn't explain how the things within this cardboard maze happen. I want it to just be, he's made this cardboard maze and just weird stuff goes on.
It came to life, yeah.
Inexplicably.
Yeah, that's the thing. The explanation is never going to satisfy. Like, I see people talk about zombies, like The Walking Dead, and trying to posit the theory about how it happened. There's no theory that's going to satisfy you.
Yeah.
I know.
There's no way any explanation is going to be satisfying.
I know some people who opted out of The Walking Dead quite early on because they realized, like, oh, this isn't about, like, how... This isn't like the team that's going to solve the virus or whatever and save the world.
Well, we've all
this
seen
is just
that.
like, yeah, but for some reason they're just like, oh, so this story is going nowhere. Then it's just going to be these people trying to survive the whole time. I was like, yeah, it's like a soap with zombies. And then they opted out early, and I was like, no, I'm sticking with the show till the end. And then I got to like season 7, and I was like,
yeah,
it's kind of like a soap with zombies. So this is kind of getting boring.
It was season 1. I think the end of season 1. They. Discover that there isn't a cure.
Yeah.
I love that, though. I think that's genius. As long as you've got a long-term plan. I don't mean like, to wrap up everything in a neat bow, but if you know where the characters are going on this journey and you're not just making it up as you go along, cool. But I get the impression they are just making it up as they go along.
Robert Kirkman has claimed he knows where it's all going to go. But
that's
to some extent, though, that's got to be limited by the availability of your actors. I mean, he's for one thing, it's almost like he's got to have 2 separate ideas of where things are going to go because he's actively writing the comic series as well. And, actors are getting killed off in the TV series differently than they're getting killed off in the comic series. And so it's like you've got to have 2 different plot lines in your head, and I don't know how you reconcile that.
It's an odd one. If anyone listening loves that show, I apologize that I opted out 2 seasons ago. I think I was just like, nah, I'm done.
It was weird. I got all the DVDs and the Blu-rays and caught up, basically binged through to be current for season, I want to say it was 7. And then watched season 7 and just couldn't do it anymore. I want to say it was 7. I could have the wrong number, but the season that ended with Negan kills ... And then I watched the premiere just to get the answer to who Negan killed. But then after that, I was just like, you know what? This show is... There's no lightness and no joy, and no one's having any modicum of fun in this anymore. I watch it and I don't feel happy.
Oh no!
It's not like I want to watch a zombie show and then come away, with a song in my heart. But I don't want to watch it and just be like, oh, no.
Well, there are some zombie musicals. What's that Japanese one? The Happiness of the Katakuris. It's a zombie musical, so you could leave that with a song in your heart, almost literally.
Oh, that's weird you're saying that, though, because just yesterday, as I was going to see Halloween, appropriately enough, because I was listening to the latest episode of Obsessed with Joseph Scrimshaw, and the person who was on was obsessed with Halloween, but like the film series. But like he had a whole thing of like, because he was a musician, and he's like, oh, my band's played like the Walking Dead cruise that they have, like multiple times. Apparently, they have a thing the fans can go on. Like 2,000 fans and some of the cast of The Walking Dead go on a cruise, and he's like, it's the most fun ever. It's just like everyone's getting on great. The cast is in just chatting to the fans and stuff. Everyone's very easygoing, and then you'll be up like we'll be jamming on stage, and all of a sudden, friggin' Andrew Lincoln will get up and start playing guitar with us and stuff, and it sounds like it's the most fun ever. And for like the least fun TV show imaginable. It was just like, oh, we have a great time making it. It doesn't come across, but you know, we had a fantastic time making that show and going on the cruise afterwards. I think my brother was he was the opposite way around with it though, because he's the only person still pestering me with like for years I was saying you should really watch that show. It's pretty good, and he's like, nah, what? Who cares? And then I think because he's just very morbidly fascinated with gore, he got really into like Hostel and all that stuff when it came out. He kept hearing about like this death scene with Negan, where like Negan kills somebody very graphically on screen. He's like, I gotta see this. I gotta know what the circumstances are.
Yeah, I know which one you mean.
Yeah, but then he caught up, and then all of a sudden now, like, I'm out of the show, and he's just like, oh, have you seen The Walking Dead this week? And it's like, oh, why didn't you do this like 4 years ago when I actually cared? But he's the only person I know who's still standing by, going, nope, I'm with this show to the end. Like,
so, speaking of segues, I noted here, looking at the fashion, because this is a contemporary film, I feel like Greg's fashion is really going to date this film in like 10 or so years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like it, but it's very now.
Yeah, it's very now. Like, Bryn's fashion's not too... Maybe in 10 years her hairstyle will look dated, but the jean jacket is not too... modernish.
That's pretty classic.
Maybe her footwear.
Maybe
as it's coming across the screen, but like, boy, Greg's big hipster glasses and that hat and
a tie with a short sleeve
shirt. Loud shirt with a casual tie.
Because that's the thing though. Because like I feel bad now. Because one of my notes was like, John, I'm pretty sure I've seen you in this exact outfit.
I do pretty much wear this most days.
Yeah, this is like not even just like a similar outfit. Like, no, I'm pretty that exact shirt, that tie, and that hat I've definitely seen on you at some point.
It's almost that shirt. If you remember, it's chevrons, like a Twin Peaks chevron version of that shirt. But otherwise, yes, exactly that.
Yeah.
And I've got glasses.
Yeah. I think maybe at the time you did have a beard for like you went through this period where you had like this insanely long beard.
Yeah, just for fun.
Yeah, it just seemed more like, I just couldn't be bothered shaving for like a year. And then all of a sudden, it's just like you couldn't freaking get stubble out of your face now. You just refuse to let it grow.
Well, that's how beards usually happen, is someone, goes about a week or so without shaving just because they didn't wake up early enough or whatever, and then they go, it's good. I'll keep it.
See, I've had a beard for like a while now, but I made a conscious effort to grow it. I was just like, no, I want one. And it drove me crazy, the itchiness and stuff. It only gets to like maybe after 2 or 3 weeks where you're like, oh wait, no, it's gone. Like now it's just a thing on your face, rather than like, this is really bugging me, man. Like I can't take this anymore.
Well, actually, speaking of Robert Black, he had commissioned a few of us to donate some of our old high school yearbook pictures for. I think he was doing a publicity photo for or a publicity picture for something his daughter was directing, and he needed high school yearbook shots. Oh. And so he had, I think it was myself and Jonathan Howell and George Hendricks and Rick Ingham, all bearded men, all pictures of us before beards.
Ah, yes.
17, 18 years old, and I just looked at it and went, there's a lot of jawlines in need of a beard.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of weak chins and a lot of double chins to come.
That's the thing, though. Like, this is very off topic, but like, the thing.
No, it's not off topic. Greg has a beard. As you were.
The thing is, like, because me and John, because we're in a different continent, we haven't made it to one of the meetups yet, but hopefully next year. But so I've never met George Hendricks in person, and I've only seen sporadic Facebook photos of him. But then when we had him on Bat Minute, and like we always put pictures up of people, the guests on throughout the week, and I think John asked him for 3 different photos, and he sent photos that were like, this is 3 different people. Like and every photo I ever see of him, he looks like it's a different guy. It's like I think he's trolling it. Like I know people have met him, but are you sure you've met the real George Hendricks? It's not just like a surrogate.
Is there a real George Hendricks?
Yeah, it's like, or maybe he's everyone who was at Denver this year was like, it's an elaborate prank. There is no George Hendricks, and then it's the ghost of Hoyt Axton just like speaking through a microphone.
I think he's Hoyt Axton's personality put into a computer like algorithm that generates these things to say.
It's just like Hoyt Axton was the lawnmower man for a bit. He got into cyberspace, and now this is like since 1992 he's been existing under various names, and the latest one is George Hendricks.
Oh, there was a guy I went to college with, and I'm not going to say his real name, but we were convinced that he wasn't actually a real person, that this was someone's like performance studies master's thesis to just be this guy.
It's a famous actor come to the school.
Or just like, I'm this character of... to not throw his name out there as I'm kind of insulting him. And just like to be this weird, out there, trippy person for 4 years and have no one catch on.
I love him already.
But although you were saying though about the chevron shirt, John, Twin Peaks, this woman Brynn, when I did watch it because it was very close to the time where Twin Peaks had come back, the Twin Peaks of the Return. I don't want to go into too many spoilers for people who haven't seen it. It's a weird one because it's like I recommend it as a show, but not if you've. It's like if you go into the third season cold, you're gonna be completely lost.
Oh, good.
And
yeah.
And particularly, even if you've seen the first two, a lot of diehard fans did not get into that third season because it's very, very strange. But she's in it. Brynn is in an episode of where it's an episode where Dougie Jones, like he comes out and he's attacked by a guy, and then he's like trying to get the gun out of his hand. And people who know the show will know the context, but like the evolution of the arm, the tree with the chewing gum head, the talks appear to him, and he's just like, squeeze his hand off and stuff. And then
it's more like this, Niall. Squeeze his hand off.
But they do talk about that'd be a good one actually. Just send people minutes of that show and just be like, what's happening here?
What is happening here?
But yeah, there's a news report afterwards. People talking about, this guy, he just took out this guy trying to kill him outside this office. It was amazing. And then Brynn, she shows up. She's the woman who was like, oh no, he wasn't in distress at all. Douglas Jones moved like a cobra, and that's her one line. But it was such close thing because people were analyzing that show literally almost like minute by minute, so intensely. That like after every episode, you kind of went over it again in your head to sort out what was going on. So when I saw this, it's like I've seen this woman before, and then like there you go. It turned out it was the same woman. So
well, sadly though, he doesn't move like a cobra. So it doesn't work all the time having her around.
But that's the thing though, because
like an impaled thing.
The thing is, the
thing that gets impaled. Yeah.
But
cut that, Robert. That wasn't funny.
But
go ahead, Niall.
The thing is, I actually watching it. I'm not too sure if it's supposed to be the joke or if it's just it's just the way it is. Because the way he steps over that wire, and then his second foot gets it, because it leads you to think like, oh no, he's just gonna walk over the wire again. That's the joke. And then it's like, no, I got him. I'm like, I thought this would have been played up more, but that's
a good point, actually.
Yeah, and usually someone steps on the tripwire as opposed to actually tripping on the tripwire. But I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like I know usually the point of a tripwire is it's not very visible. That thing looks really visible because it's all frayed. Like you'd see that thing a mile away, surely.
Well, I guess it blends into the cardboard surroundings a little bit.
Similar
color.
What color's the floor? Because if the floor's a similar color,
I think the floor is the similar cardboard hue.
Aha, there you go.
Although the business of like tripping on a tripwire rather than stepping on a tripwire is like it reminded me a bit of when I was a kid. There's always a thing that I remember. It might have been the first instance I've been able to identify as a child. It's like, oh, you've just put that in this just to make this episode go longer. Like, this isn't a thing that really exists, but you've just done this for the sake of the show. I think it was an episode of Action Force, or G.I. Joe, as it's called in America. Over here, we called it Action Force because I guess they wanted it to be less U.S.-centric. So I was like, no, it's Action Force. They're international. They just happen to be led by a load of American people.
Well, and kids here wouldn't know what a GI is because we don't use that phrase.
Yeah, but I mean, G.I. Jane came out.
Yeah, but by then, people understood more by then.
G.I. Joe, he's very concerned with digestion.
I'd watch that.
But there was an episode I remember where like they're going through the jungle or something, and then someone went like, "Oh wait," and he's like, "I've stepped on a landmine," and they're like, "What? What do you mean?" He's just like, "It's one of those landmines that it only goes off once you take your foot off." And it's like, that's not a thing. You just put this in because you didn't want to kill that character, but you needed some danger, so you've introduced this. And this was at the age of 10, but like, bullshit, no way.
This is bullshit.
So, yeah, just refuse to accept that. It's like, no, that's just like, that's content. That is just stretching your writing right there.
Yeah. Then poor Greg takes the toilet paper tubes through the chest.
Yep.
Oh, it just makes me
Bloodless,
think of
a bloodless kill.
First Blood.
No.
Because doesn't he spike someone in the knees with a similar thing?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's I think I got you the book of First Blood for your birthday one year.
Yes,
I believe, John. Yeah, because I always get. Weirdly enough, I think I've read the book more recently than I've seen the movie, so I keep getting the events. Because I know in that book, like Rambo is just killing people, just left, right, and center.
Oh yeah, he just goes relentlessly crazy.
Yeah. And I remember he's killing the dogs, he's killing everybody, and it's very much like it's him and Teasdale's combined narrative. It's not so much like in the movie. It's like Brian Dennehy is an asshole. He just wants rid of Rambo, whereas in the book it's more like no, he's trying to like he for Rambo's own sake he wants him out of here and stuff. And it's not an inherent prejudice. It's actually a split, and he gets as much time spent on him in the book as Rambo does. But, so yeah, I keep thinking, like, oh, yeah, but Rambo, does he impale somebody? Does he just kill somebody in the film as well? And it's like, oh, wait, no, he doesn't kill people in that movie.
No, I think it's just to the knees, similar approach.
He doesn't kill American people, but you send him back to Vietnam, he will kill the fuck out of everybody there, though. Don't you worry about that.
Took an arrow to the knee.
Yes. Oh, that's one for the gamers.
Yes. It's interesting that this kill is bloodless. I mean, I guess it would kind of go against sort of the whimsy of the film if this was a realistic impalement, but
yeah, you don't want too much blood and gore, I think, because it would. Yeah. To me, that does take away from the comedy element, the fun.
Yeah,
and it just starts feeling a bit kind of bad taste. I'm not one for like really over the top gory films, you see.
Just might want to avoid that new Halloween then, because that's pretty brutal.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's like friggin'... There's a bit in the trailer, you see, like Michael Myers just, like, he comes into, like, a woman trapped in the toilet, and he just, like, puts his hand over her and just drops a load of this guy's teeth that he's friggin' beating out of his head. There's, like, all bloody teeth all over the floor and stuff. Like, yeah, it's pretty brutal. But, yeah, the,
You guys still there?
I'm not too sure, because, like, I can say that there is no blood in the rest of the movie, but there is fake blood, where it's, like... people's heads will come off, but it'll be like a load of red yarn will come spewing out of them.
Oh, okay.
That's the film exists entirely in a logic all of itself.
Yeah, like there is. I think in our third minute there is a little bit of what looks to be disemboweling with yarn. But anyway, anyone have anything else here for minute 26? I suppose, or I'm gonna move on to what trippy shit is coming up next.
Yeah, I'm happy to move on if you guys are.
Yeah, I didn't really have any specific notes other than this looks great.
Yeah. All right, fellas, I'm pretty sure you've got something to plug.
Niall, I'm going to let you do it because I plug it every episode of our show. So.
Oh, my.
Yeah, but I do more guest spots, John. I plug it in all those other shows.
That's true.
No, it's fine. Yeah, well, we're from Bat Minutes. Previously Bat Minute 89, but now we're doing all the other movies, so we've expanded. Although that was always the plan, was to do all of them, so I don't know why we went with 89 in the first place.
Because we're stupid.
And we're currently airing the second. We finished the entire first movie. We're now in the middle of the second one, Batman Returns. We'll be going on to cover Batman Forever and Batman and Robin thereafter. You can get us through all your normal podcatchers, and we have just me and John and an eclectic bunch of guests. Alex, you were on there just recently as well. So
sure was.
You can get in touch with us anywhere. Just Google Batminute. We pop up. We're right there.
Yeah, and as for me, you can check me out on your podcatcher of choice, Galaxy Quest Minute. Let me say that again. My stomach is deciding to be noisy. Come on, stomach. I know, it's early in the morning. You haven't eaten yet. I got it. As for me, you can check me out on your standard podcatcher of choice, Galaxy Quest Minute. Depending on when you're listening to this, Independence Day Minute may be out by now. And Cleveland in 6, going deep into Major League. Yes, that's 3 different places where you can hear me be needy. All right, listeners. I'm not really sure how to sign this off. Go make a maze?
Yes, make your own mazes and send them in.
Oh.
Yes, do that.
Just
all right.
Sign out by singing Maybe I'm Amazed by Wings, but have it be Davey made a maze in the way you live. No, actually, any lyric after Davey made a maze doesn't work.
I was going to sing Amazed by, was it Lone Star?
Oh.
Every little thing that you do, baby, I'm amazed by you.
Well, you both amaze me.
And then I could probably disarm all the traps, and then we could finish this maze. Who is with me?
That was Alex Thompson of Galaxy Quest Minute, along with Niall McGowan and John Parker of That Minute Returns, taking on Minute 26 of Dave Made a Maze. They will be back in Minute 34. Next time on Dave Made a Minute, we've got me, Robert Black of Michael Myers Minute, taking on Minute 27, and interviewing Timothy Nordwind, who played Greg.
Thank you for listening to Dave Made a Minute. Intro dialogue snippets were taken from Dave Made a Maze, directed by Bill Watterson, written by Bill Watterson and Steve Sears, and produced by John Charles Meyer. Intro music is Diversion by The Equals, featured in the film Dave Made a Maze, and Life Cycle of a Match by Parvis Decree. Outro music is Leaving This Godforsaken Place and Her Presence is Strong Here by Parvis Decree. Dave Made a Minute is a production of Lemming Drop Studio and all other featured podcast producers. You can find more content at lemmingdrops.com. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Dave Made a Minute. If you like what you hear, throw us a rating and review on your podcatcher of choice, and check out all of the participants' other shows to spread the love around. Again, thank you for listening.
As long as we're all working together, this is going to be fine. It's going to be great.
I need you to notify the families of everyone who died here today.
Totally. Wait, what?